day. Something about me that some people know, I just became a grandfather for the first time. And thank you. And his name is Benjamin, and he is 3 months old. And I'm going to get to babysit him tomorrow for a little while. Thank you.
Sonia.
My name is Sonia Haas, and I know I don't look it, but I've been in title for over 26 years. So I used to look a lot younger. But, so I worked for a couple different title companies. I started my career in Glendale, and I still am in the Glendale area. I was with North American Title, and I have been with Fidelity Title, and also now with Orange Coast Title since 2011. And in 2011, I broke out from Glendale. I do a little bit of, I have Burbank. Over the years, you have clients that spread out. Some of you don't give up. And so then I have Pasadena, South Pass, San Marino, and Arcadia. So something about me.
Yes.
I have a twin brother.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and I'm an avid golfer, too.
Not one of you asked if it was identical?
Yeah, most people ask me that question, and I just laugh.
Duane.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Duane Morrison with Morrison Property Inspections. Been in the home inspection industry since 2002, so I'm right at about 15 years. I own the company. We're 7 inspectors strong now. We're located in Baldwin Park, right off 605. Something interesting about me. I guess last year I did my first Ironman.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Good evening. I think I'm the only guy with the microphone on. Here we go. Good evening. My name is Ryan Hoffman. I'm with Wholesale Capital Corporation. I'm second generation in the business, so I've been in 7 years, and my family has been in the business for 30 years. We've got offices from Moreno Valley, Westlake Village, Temecula, Downey, Orange. My branch is in Covina, and let's see, something. I actually have a warrant out for my arrest in the state of Utah, so I can't go to Utah. Okay. So that's something. Wow.
Well, I know what my first question is going to be. Okay, and something about me that most people don't know is I'm a third generation high-rise window cleaner. I started rigging buildings when I was 11, started coming down the side of buildings when I was 12. And when I was 35, I realized that work was very, very hard. And so I became a realtor.
Wow.
And so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I want to start with the lender. Because I honestly believe that transaction starts with the lender. And so from your standpoint, I want to talk a little bit about the value of being qualified early in the transaction and having a full set of docs for a full file for your client.
Cool. So
I'm going to work without it. Okay. Sorry.
Should I just take this one off too?
No, it's fine.
No, fine? It's just, yeah, okay. So in terms of the difference between getting pre-approved and pre-qualified, a lot of you know this already, but basically pre-qualified means, hey, you tell me what you make over the phone, I run your credit, and I say, yeah, they're good to go. But I don't actually see any of their documents. And pre-approval just means that I've actually, gotten to look at all their tax returns, all their pay stubs, their bank statements. I've reviewed all the pages on their credit report and done all the real legwork to make sure that, for example, the reason why it's so important is because besides the phrase buyers are liars, we never say that. But a lot of times buyers don't know that their CPAs are trying to save them as much money as possible without telling them how they're saving them as much money as possible. So there's a lot of things that they don't think will affect them that really once we see the paperwork, you say, oh, you didn't tell me about this, why didn't you tell me about this? We go through all the legwork to make sure that when you guys take somebody out shopping, that they'll actually be able to get a loan and not wasting your time and your money.
Good. I really appreciate that. If you notice, there's one thing missing on the panel, and that's a realtor. So from time to time, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to jump in from a realtor standpoint, and I'm going to do it right now. we don't get paid to open doors, guys, so it's really, really important that before we put people in our cars, before we meet them out at properties, that we know who they are and what they're capable of doing in the transaction. From a safety standpoint, but more or equally as important from an economic standpoint. If you want a deal to be done, make sure your lender has blessed them and said, yes, we can move forward with them. But make sure you know your lender. That's a critical part of it. So the next part of this is the escrow department. We've got our pre-approved lender, and now we have our escrow officer is getting an accepted offer. What do you look for when you first get that package? What are you doing?
Okay. There are, when we talk about what documents should be returned quickly after an escrow is open, there are actions that real estate agents can take to ensure the escrow gets off to a smooth transaction from start to close. The effective hints that can really make a difference to return your escrow package ASAP at the earliest stage, to stable escrow position, also to provide all necessary information with further accomplishment such as parties to confirm once again with the purchase price, closing date, allocations of cost, commissions paid up, commissions amount, involvement of 1031 exchange, tax and related form which may involve additional times, buyer's destinations of title investing, etc., etc., including real estate agent, escrow agent, title officers, loan officers are to be responsive, keeping the communication lines open and work together to ensure a smooth closing. Chairman, if you would allow me to talk just a little bit more about the critical part. One of the first critical steps after escrow open is how escrow agent can obtain a complete HOA package for buyers and buyers lenders to review and approve so they can reach out the designated contingency period. The advance payment appears to be blocked up in some practice. The purchase agreement gives party a clear guideline. Sellers are responsible for HOA document. Advance payments are in high ratio to be required by property management. The purchase agreement also indicated the HOA documents and information to be current and update, such as minutes, financial statement, reserve, and budget report. In some case, when sellers think that they have provided a set of HOA documents, from the time they acquire subject property, can fulfill buyers and buyers lender. The most updated document likely are not to be in seller's possession. So that's one of the critical part when real estate professionals in terms of selling, buying condos or complex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are starting to see a lot of transactions. This is going to be for title, Sonia. We're starting to see a lot of transactions open up now with LLCs and trusts and corporations as the principal buyer or seller. What kind of challenges is that presenting to you right now?
Okay, we do see, is this working?
It is.
Okay. If the property is in a trust and no one has passed away, so it's still the trustee of the trust, then there's no problem in selling the property. Because then the title company will just require a certificate of the trust. But we are seeing a lot of properties where the trustor is selling the property because they have it in a trust for one reason, that a person gets a trust done and puts their property in a trust, is so the heirs of their trustors, the trustees of the trust can sell the property. Well, the problem that title companies are coming across is we need a full copy of the trust, and not all the attorneys are on the same field. You pay the attorney all this money to get your trust done, but the verbiage is not all the same. So the title company has to review the entire trust, and people get very upset because they just want to give you a part of the trust. They don't want to give the whole copy of the trust because that's something personal to them. But the title company has to read the whole entire trust, and they have to make sure that the verbiage is very specific in the person being allowed to sell the property. So there has to be specific verbiage in the trust. To not insure the property, then they have to go through probate. So that is a big challenge. So I tell my clients, if you ever incur this, make sure that you get a copy of the trust to me beforehand, and then I send it to the title officer, and the title officer will preview the whole trust, and then they'll tell you if they can insure it or not, if it has to go to probate or not. Now with an LLC, there's a lot of properties in LLC because a lot of the investors, when they're flipping the properties, are putting it in the LLC. So with the LLC, they need articles of incorporation, they need the bylaws, and then they need the resolution of the corporation. So those are 3 documents. Sometimes LLC can contain one individual owning the LLC, or they can have several partners in the LLC. So they just need the copies of articles of incorporation, the bylaws, and then the resolution for incorporation.
Good. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, if you don't mind. The other day I had an agent come up to me with a preliminary title report, and this agent said to me with a curious look on her face, I've got this report, what do I do with it? Do I just give it to the client and have them sign it? What should they be doing with that preliminary title report?
The preliminary, I'm sorry I can't speak today. The preliminary title report should be previewed. If you do not know how to read the preliminary title report, you should contact your escrow officer and your title representative and have them come and sit down with you. The representative from the title company should be able to just go through it with you. They could do it on the phone if they can't meet with you in person. The most important part of the preliminary title report is going to be Schedule B. In Schedule B, there could be items on there that would prevent or hold up the close of escrow. So you have to make sure that when you go through that. And also remember that when the term preliminary, hence, is just a preliminary title report. When they run that, they do a general index with a name, so they run the name. If it's a common name, there could be liens and judgments that are listed on the preliminary title report that are not your client's. And then your client gets really upset and says, why is this on here, why is this on here? So that's just a prelim that they ran, and they came out with those liens and judgments if it's a common name. They have to get it cleared up. They have to do a statement of information. So a statement of information has to be ran. It's a form that they fill out, and they run their social security number. So when they run their social security number, then they can make sure that those liens and judgments are theirs or they're not theirs. And for instance, on a preliminary title report, there's easements that are on there. If you have a client that says, I want to build a swimming pool, and you find this piece of property that has a huge backyard lot, and you said, this is a perfect house for your client to build a swimming pool. Well, you did not preview the preliminary title report, and there's a drainage easement back there that runs in the backyard. Now your client cannot build a swimming pool back there. So it's very important to go through on Schedule B. There'll be an assessment of the taxes, if the taxes are current. The most important thing is the vesting. The vesting on the preliminary report. If your client that you're working with is the seller, maybe it's the son or daughter is trying to sell the house and it's in their parents' name. Well, or maybe they're going through a divorce and the wife's trying to sell the house and it's in the husband and wife's name. So you have to look on the vesting to make sure that you're working with the proper sellers, and then you have to see if the taxes are current. There's going to be deeds of trust if they have loans out on the property. If the loans are paid off, there should be a recorded reconveyance. With a recorded reconveyance these days, even if that is recorded, title companies are questioning the reconveyance, the validity of it, if it is a fraudulent document or not, because now people are getting fraudulent reconveyances. So then they want to make sure that the property, that loan is paid off. So there's a lot of things on item number B that you can go through. I also teach a preliminary title report, or preliminary title report class if anyone's interested in that.
Thank you. Really good job.
Yeah, I can keep going on. I've been doing title for 26 years.
Well, and it shows. It shows. So Pablo, now we're gonna skip to you. I think we discussed it a little bit. One of the most undervalued parts of this team may be the insurance agent. And I think at the very last minute, we as realtors or advise our clients, hey, run out and get a policy. And a policy is a policy is a policy, but we know it's not. So tell us some of the challenges and when you think you should be engaging in the process.
Okay. My best advice to give is as soon as you have an accepted contract, okay, you should start talking to your insurance agent. And the reason for that is because once we get the address to the property, we can determine if it's located in brush. If it is in brush, we have to figure out what company is more lenient for this or that, because there are different companies that have different appetite for brush. Or if for example, they're going to require, like, for example, flood insurance, we need to do all the flooding checks to see if it's in a flood area. So the sooner that you contact your insurance agent, the sooner that we can plug in that address, find out what it takes, and also what kind of policy you're going to need. For example, if you're buying it to move into the property, that's usually a homeowner's policy. But if you're buying it for an investment, then that's probably what's called a landlord's policy. And so you need to, it'd be great if you give your insurance agent a little bit of time to do a little bit of research so that they can find the best deal for you. Because a lot of times when they call us, everything is ready to go and close, and we have very, very little time to do it. And you know, sometimes you have customers that are high net customers, that they have things that they may want to include, and it's unbeknownst sometimes to the real estate agent. For example, one of the customers may have a gun collection, and they may want to include it to protect it. Or somebody else may have art that, you know, they've been buying you know, famous arts and things for many years. So, you know, some of that stuff can be endorsed to the policy, but we need a little time. And a lot of times we don't get that luxury. So, you know, the sooner that you get an offer accepted and the sooner you contact an insurance agent, the better it is for everybody. And we can figure out, you know, if there are claims that get attached to that house, because now you got clue that you have to contend with, and there's a few little things. So the more time you give us, the more time we have to shop for the right company and the right policy for you, and we can give you options instead of just going, you know, okay, this is the only thing that we can do at the moment with the time that we have, because we have to close escrow because everybody's ready to go, and this is all the time we've been given. So it's not difficult, but a little bit of time helps.
Or if they're really tight on the financing side and they find out, oh, that's not going to be $75 a month, it's going to be $125 a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easier to find that out before we go to docs. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, Duane, your industry is a very unique industry. Most of us have to be licensed to navigate, and we have certain trainings that we have to go through regularly. And for a big part, your industry is an unregulated industry. So talk to me a little bit about the trade organizations that play a role in your governance as an industry and training, and talk a little bit about that.
Okay, that's true. A lot of times we'll get phone calls and agents will ask, or buyers will ask, you know, do you have a license? And in the state of California, they do not offer licenses for home inspectors or property inspectors. They just don't. So in California, you want to qualify your home inspector. You want to ask him, are you a member of, you know, some type of standards-based association? I would say the standard of care in California that's recognized by the California Business and Professions Code is CREA, the California Real Estate Inspection Association. There's some other national ones like ASHI and NACHI. And those acronyms stand for the American Society of Home Inspectors, and NACHI is another one, the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And there's a couple of others. Those three are probably the main, they're the top three, at least in my opinion, CREA, ASHI, and NACHI. And any inspector worth their salt is going to follow their standards, whether they're certified or not. One thing that I was thinking about as I was reviewing the questions is, Does an inspector necessarily have to be certified? Well, yeah, that's great, but one thing that's probably even more important than that is when you go into an inspection, is your customer having an inspection agreement with the inspector? A legal contract.